There was a movie that we did called Gross Anatomy, a Disney movie back in the late 80s. And it was a movie with Matthew Modine in it, and they were medical school students. There's a whole bunch of sequences where they're in their gross anatomy lab dissecting bodies. Oh. And they were like, well, you know, you can get real bodies for like $150 and put them on the set, but after 6 weeks, they would smell really bad and the lights and stuff, so we should just make some.
Welcome to Scream Dreams, the nightmares that shaped us, where we sit down with your favorite genre filmmakers and talk about what actually terrifies them. I'm Catherine Corcoran.
And I'm James A. Janice, and today our guest is Greg Nicotero.
Yay.
Hi. Hey, how's it going?
Good. Very
Welcome
good.
to Scream Dreams.
Thank you.
You are an award-winning, Emmy award-winning, BAFTA award-winning. What other ones should we put in there?
Our company has an Oscar for Narnia.
Okay.
I think we have like 15 Saturn Awards for The Walking Dead over the years, which are the Saturn Award is like their nerdy Oscars. So
yeah.
It's kind of great.
Yeah.
I'm
Arguably the more fun event, depending on what your taste.
Well, it's not like the Oscars are going to nominate genre flicks, so.
And it's actually done by people who are passionate about the genre, so it kind of makes it a lot of fun.
Don't dismiss it.
Yeah.
But look, I've been doing it a long time.
Yeah, so. I mean, you're an incredible effects artist, but you're also a director, a producer. Writer. You've kind of run the gamut. Do you have is effects your favorite, or?
Well, it's in my blood. You know, even shows that that I'm producing and directing, like the makeup effects meeting is always the most fun because you get to sort of brainstorm ideas. And when I'm not directing or producing, because we still, my company's been around for 36 years, we still do effects on a lot of stuff. So I like to be in on those meetings, and those sort of at the bottom level, the canvas is blank, and you start talking to the director or the showrunner or the producer, and you kind of throw a bunch of stuff out there. There's no budget for a meeting, so nobody's like saying, oh, we don't have any money. They wait till the next meeting to tell you they don't have any money. So you get all your great ideas out there, and then the next one they go, but we don't have any money. Yeah, so we can do half of what you talked about.
Are you critical of the effects? It must be really intimidating to be an effects artist going into a meeting with you. I would be like,
I don't know. It's hard to say. It's strange because I still feel like I'm that, 19-year-old kid working for Tom Savini and George Romero. I still have that passion and that enthusiasm. So when I meet other people and they're like, oh my God, I'm such a fan, I'm like, me too. I said, I remember meeting Clive Barker for the first time. I remember meeting Sean Connery and the people that I met that I admired. And so I still have that. So to me, I think it's weird that people are intimidated by what I've done because I'm just a guy who makes monsters.
You mentioned K&B Effects, your company has been around for 36 years, but your credits precede that too. Was Day of the Dead your first
Day of the
project?
Dead was my first job. Ironically, July 23rd of this year will be my 40th. That was the day I got hired on Day of the Dead. I was going downtown Pittsburgh to have lunch with George Romero, and we had lunch, and he said, oh, by the way, we got a green light for Day of the Dead. Do you want a job? And it kind of goes back a little while because I had met George in the late 70s, and then when Creepshow was happening, he had said, oh, you want to come work on the movie? Mm-hmm. And I was, well, I'm getting ready to go to college, and I was still a little starstruck, and never thought like, oh, I was going to get into the movie business. I figured I was going to be a doctor and follow my dad's footsteps. And
what kind of doctor?
He's a kidney specialist.
Okay.
Yeah. So when Day of the Dead came up, I'm like, okay, well, it's not going to happen again. If I want to do it, I got to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. Like this year will be 40 years.
Yeah, and what a hell of a movie to have as your first credit. Like that's some of the best effects work ever. Like,
and Dawn of the Dead and Jaws are my two favorites. Mm-hmm. So imagine your first job is the sequel to your favorite movie ever made.
Working under Savini.
Yeah. So I don't even know how that happened. I don't even know how it happened, but it did. So.
Was it, we talk a lot about like what actually terrifies us on the show. Was that a scary thing for you, or were you just so thrilled it was like there was no nerves?
It was surrealistic. You know, I mean, Tom and I became friends. I went to visit the set of Creepshow, and that's when I met Tom. And I would go out on Saturdays because I was still in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I would go out on Saturdays because they would work 6 days, and I would sit in Tom's lab while they were filming stuff or building stuff. Like when they were building Fluffy from the crate, I would go and just hang out in his shop for hours at a time on Saturdays and watch him build stuff.
Oh, cool.
So to me, it was just, I was a fan. I loved special effects. I loved monsters. And I had an opportunity to watch it being done in my own backyard, so to speak. I never thought about it as a career. I never ventured it. I never thought about it. It just didn't enter into my head that, oh, this is an opportunity right in front of you. I just thought, oh man, this is cool. I'm friends with George Romero and I'm friends with Tom Savini. And when I want to go visit the set, I can go watch filming a movie.
Yeah.
It's like Hollywood, you know, and the same thing that Tom Savini would always say. Hollywood was in his backyard. So if it had been any other town that I had grown up in or any other town that George or Tom lived in, this would have never happened.
Oh, are you also from Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
didn't
So
realize that.
that's literally how it happened.
I mean, I guess then what was the shift though that you were like, you know what, I don't want to work on human bodies. I want to create.
Well, it's twofold. The first shift was I got the bug.
Right.
You know, I was working on Day of the Dead. We were making zombies and I was doing blood gags and spraying blood on people. And, you know, I was Tom's assistant.
Right.
So prior to that, all the shows that Tom had done, he had coordinated his department. He was a one-man operation. I mean, I think on Friday the 13th, he had Tasso Stavrakis. He had a couple of assistants, but for the most part, it was just Tom. And then when Day of the Dead came about, you know, Richard Rubenstein and David Ball, the line producer, were like, this is a big gig, and this is bigger than just Tom doing it in his basement. He needs a crew.
Yeah.
So George sort of tapped me to be on the show, and I called Tom immediately and said, hey, I want to be your assistant. So I was the guy responsible for calling people and getting the resumes, ordering the materials and supplies. I actually kept a diary, a daily journal of like everything that I did. And I was like, oh, today I called Richie Alonso, and today I called Mike Matty, and today I called, and it would be like the people who would then finally become big makeup effects artists. So I would like, oh, had to call Bob Kelly and order the hair and order the skeletons. And so I made like a little list every day of the stuff that I did. So that's kind of how it happened. And I was so enamored with it. And, you know, one of the people that worked on Day of the Dead was Howard Berger. So, you know, after Day of the Dead ended, I went and worked on Tales from the Crypt, and I worked on Vision USA with Tom. And then I was kind of like, if I should do this, like I should fly to LA. And so I moved in with Howard and his family. His three sisters, who were like, who is this blonde-haired guy living with us now? And that was in 1985. So I just went where it took me. And that was a level of freedom that I was really fortunate to have, because it was like, oh, we're going to do this movie and it's going to shoot in Atlanta. Okay. And I would just jump on a plane and go to Atlanta and work for a little bit. You know, I was like, again, I was just a kid with a little bit of money and, you know, fucking $2,000 in the bank, which I thought I was like rich. I'm like, oh my God, this is great. I can do anything. So.
Do you still have that journal?
I do. As a matter of fact, I always, you know, anytime anybody does an updated making of Day of the Dead, the DVDs, I kept every scrap of paper. I don't know I think maybe because I was so enamored with the idea that I was working on my favorite movie that hadn't been made yet. That I kept every scrap of paper. I kept all the call sheets. I kept all the memos. You know, I have the original draft that George had written that got changed considerably because the big trick was we were going to do this big, I always call it like the 10 Commandments of zombie. It was like this big epic movie, but it would have cost $7 million to make. Or the smaller version, which was the $3 million version. And Salah Hassanein, the distributor, they're like, we can't distribute an unrated movie for $7 million because we'll never make our money back.
Yeah.
So while we had been prepping the big script, and then like a couple of weeks before we started shooting, they said, we can't afford it. You got to cut the script to afford $3 million. So a lot of it ended up in Land of the Dead. A lot of
Okay.
it ended up in some of George's other movies because
Yeah.
it was so great. And I remember we were getting ready to go to Fort Myers to shoot the opening of Day of the Dead. And in the original script, there was this big shootout on the dock, and they got on a boat, and they were like machine gunning zombies in the water, and it was all this crazy stuff. And I fucking loved it. And I remember we were getting ready to fly to Fort Myers, and I begged George, I'm like, please just bring some guns, just in case you have a little extra time one day to film a shootout, because I was so in love with that original script.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that original opening. I think it works so well as it is with the more eerie, kind of vacant, abandoned cityscape.
It's so, it really is tricky for me because people love Day of the Dead so much, but for me, there's a little part of me that looks at it as a fraction of the movie that George wanted to make.
Yeah.
You knew what it could have been. Yeah.
It's really hard for me because, all the conversations I have with people, they're like, Day of the Dead's my favorite. Really? Dawn of the Dead? Day of the Dead? Really? Sometimes I'm surprised, but again, knowing what it could have been, that really, it's a different movie. They go to this island and they discover this guy who's feeding zombies human flesh to train them as an army, and it's really, it's great.
So with Day of the Dead, you're thinking about like how it could have been maybe better for you or just bigger. What is your favorite effects work that you've done in your long career? Do you have a favorite? That's got to be such a difficult question.
It's really challenging. That's a hard question because, before Walking Dead, we primarily did movies. Like we really didn't do any TV until Walking Dead. And that was sort of an anomaly. And, the way that Walking Dead got put together was because Frank Darabont brought in people they worked on movies that didn't usually do TV. That's why Walking Dead looked the way it looked. So aside from Walking Dead, which I'm tremendously proud of, look, there's a lot of Sin City. I love just how groundbreaking that movie was, and that we got to adapt Frank Miller's drawings, like doing Marv and Yellow Bastard and Jackie Bowie and a lot of that stuff. Those movies were a tremendous amount of fun. And there's just something from Dusk Till Dawn was fun. The script literally says, and the vampires appear and all hell breaks loose. That's all it said.
All hell breaks loose.
That's it.
So what does hell breaking loose look like? You need to figure that out.
We would, we'd go on set and Robert would just be like, okay, this woman's going to take a fan and she's going to fan it open and slit the guy's throat. Okay. And then we would run back to the room and we would prep it. So it was kind of like we had this really unique synergy of, it wasn't written and it wasn't planned, but like we would just like, okay, what do you got today? It's like being a chef in a restaurant where they're like, there's no menu. You just come up with something and then we'll serve it. Yeah. And that was a lot of fun. And Robert and I have been best friends ever since because he has, he's sort of known for that guerrilla style, but I think what was interesting for me watching us making Dusk Till Dawn was he moved faster than the technology did. Like there were some visual effects in Dusk Till Dawn, like some of the vampire meltdowns and things like that. And we'd have to go over and we'd build a puppet and we'd shoot it on blue screen, or we'd have Harvey Keitel melting and we'd have a puppet head and all this. We would do that. And knowing what I know about Robert now, it slowed him down. And he wanted to be able to just move at the pace that he liked to move at. So if you look at his career from Dusk Till Dawn through Spy Kids and up until Sin City, he adapted the tools to suit his desires. He wanted to move fast. He wanted to be able to do this. And everything became digital. He was, whereas like Quentin is analog 100%. Robert sort of found a way to make the movies the way he wanted to make them, the speed he wanted to make them, by elevating technology. Like him and Jim Cameron and Lucas, they all did that. They all did that in different ways. The thing about Robert was this, scrappy dude in Austin, who did it, who defied the odds, and I still, I still really, really believe that. More so than the Star Wars movies, I think Sin City and Robert's movies really changed the direction of filmmaking, because Sin City we shot all on green screen.
Yeah.
And it was all the actors, we had Bruce Willis one day, and then we had Mickey Rourke one day, and then they would shoot scenes and there'd be a chair on set and the script supervisor reading the off-camera dialogue. Yeah. And then you watch the movie and everything was the only set that we had was the strip club set. But everything else was done, it was put together.
It was on a green screen.
And that was in 2004. And it wasn't like it wasn't like the George Lucas world where they had millions and millions and millions.
Yeah.
Like Robert figured it out on his own. I really believe that.
How do you feel about how the technology has moved forward? Like, how does, because you're practical based, obviously, and obviously you understand all of it, but the work that you are really, really recognized for is these zombie creature builds, which are all practical.
Sure.
How do you get frustrated when filmmakers lean into the digital kind of?
Well, that's a great question, and I get asked that question a lot. Here's the way I perceive it, and it's a little controversial, because I felt like in 93, 94, 95 with The Abyss and Jurassic Park, everything changed.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden it was like, oh, we want to see a dinosaur. How do you do that? And what that ended up doing was there was a lot of movies that nobody could figure out how to do before that all of a sudden got a green light. Because then they're like, wow, we have this new tool. This is going to be great. And, it's an art form. Visual effects is an art form. Prosthetics makeup effects is an art form. Physical effects, wind and rain and squibs and stuff.
Yeah.
So I always look at it as we're pieces of a painting. The director is the painter. So our job is to give the director the tools to paint the greatest painting he can paint. Sometimes it's practical, sometimes it's digital, sometimes it's special, like wind or rain or something. And I think the most successful projects are the ones where they're all used sparingly and in concert. And I'll always reference Aliens as probably the perfectly crafted movie, because Cameron used visual effects, he used miniatures, he used guys in suits, he used rear screen projection, intravision, front screen projection. He used every tool in the book. And from a technical standpoint, you watch that movie and it's virtually flawless. Yeah. From a craftsman who has to understand how to do every single one of those jobs. And that was like people like Jim Cameron, who came up from the art department. Yeah. He knew how to do that. So I always look at that. I read an interview with him once where he said, yeah, if I did Aliens today, I would do it all digital. And that broke my little black heart.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a tribute to the technical skill of all of those artists. So now, look, there's always a good use for visual effects. There's a good use for practical effects.
Yeah.
The one big argument always is the actors prefer to have something there to react to.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park is a perfect example. So I think it's important, and given now, then you think about the move to television. Like when we did Walking Dead, the first season of Walking Dead, all the zombie exploding heads and stuff, we built these rigs to do it practically, because we're like, we're not really sure. So we'd mount like a funnel on the back of a zombie with a little tube that would run off and a bellows, and you would jump on it and the blood would shoot out. So we did it all practically because it was a challenge. And then I think after the second episode, we were like, okay, it takes us more time to clean the blood up to get ready for take 2 than it would to just do a digital head hit.
Yeah, digital blood is one of the things I like the least seeing it, but I also completely understand from a production standpoint, like you just said, to have a practical, even a squib or like a head explosion, you only get one take unless you want to take the time to clean it up physically on the set, whereas with digital, you can just shoot 2 in a row and do it in post.
Well, what I usually do when I'm directing is I'll do 2 or 3 versions for the VFX. And then I'll say, fuck it. And then I'll just do the practical one.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that you have it set up.
Yeah.
Just in case.
I'll give you a good example too. There was an episode I directed on The Walking Dead. I think it was the beginning of season 5, where Rick and Daryl and Glenn have been captured by these cannibals, and they're all leaning over this trough, and their hands are tied behind their backs. And the idea is these people are going to kill them and make beef jerky out of them. So they're going down the line, and they would hit them and stun them and then cut the throat. And I had like a day to shoot this entire, 7-page sequence. And so I thought, look, I could put neck prosthetics on everybody, and then with the tube, and the tube is hidden. And then, after take one, it's never going to look quite as good. But then I thought, wait a second, what if we just put the tube around the neck like a choker, and it ran down the back, and we didn't cover it with a prosthetic. So on action, when I said blood, the guy would go, and the blood would go, and just instantly spray out.
There. Yeah.
And then VFX went in and erased the tube.
So it's a melding of the two.
Yes.
That's always I'm such a huge Lord of the Rings nerd, embarrassingly so. And I could watch the BTS and the making of those films over and over again, because and you see the difference, like, I think personally in that series and in comparison to the Hobbit films, because the Lord of the Rings films still hold, but the Hobbit films look dated, and it's because they're not melding, like you said, the two art forms
But
together.
that comes from Peter Jackson's understanding, just like Guillermo, he was an effects guy before he became a director.
Oh, yeah. Brain Dead and Bad Taste.
Yeah.
Brain Dead. Brain Dead's still one of my favorite movies. So, for me, the best effect is one that utilizes practical with a potential digital augmentation.
Yeah.
Whether it's erase a tube, or if you have somebody who has a chopped off hand, you just put a green glove on,
Right.
like on Evil Dead 2 with Bruce, we had to he had his hand cut up. We had to make that goofy little stump thing, and then his arm was like this.
Yeah.
You had to make the sleeve, shoulder,
make it
shorter, and
yeah.
it's a magic trick. Look, everything that we do is a magic trick. It's always misdirection. You look over here, or one of the best stories that I love to tell is when we did Misery. So there was a scene where James Caan's laying in the bed, and Kathy Bates comes in with the sledgehammer, and she's like, "Oh God, I love you," and she puts the block in between and hobbles him. And I remember our first meeting with Rob Reiner. He's like, "Okay, so we can't cut his foot off with an axe, because in the book, she cut his foot off." So we came up with this idea. We want to do this hobbling. So we cast Jimmy Caan's feet, and we made gelatin feet. And then we go to set one day and okay, we're going to go to lunch. And then you guys get it all ready. And then after lunch, we'll shoot it. So they go to lunch. There's 2 little holes in the bed, and he puts his real legs in the holes, and we attach the fake legs, and we get it all ready. And they come back from lunch, and they're like, "What the fuck have you guys been doing? We're ready. You're supposed to get it all rigged up and ready." We're like, "Oh, it's ready. It's the fake legs." And they're like, "Oh, okay." But the thing that works is when you see that close up of Kathy Bates, and she lifts that sledgehammer. It's a real sledgehammer. I mean, she's a great actress.
But
heavy. You know that it's... So Rob Reiner uses misdirection. The misdirection is you're telling the audience subliminally, it takes her some effort to raise that sledgehammer. The audience isn't thinking, "Oh, is it a rubber sledgehammer? Is it a fake leg?" The audience isn't thinking that. The audience is thinking, "Holy shit, that's a real sledgehammer she just raised." And then the next shot is she winds up and hits, and the crack. And your brain doesn't, my brain unfortunately does, but the average person's brain doesn't dissect from shot to shot. That's why movies work.
Yeah.
So in that particular instance, the misdirection was real sledgehammer used for all the shots, including the impact shot. Because if it would have been a rubber sledgehammer on his real leg, it would have never looked right. So, that's what I've spent, my career working with the directors that I've worked with is taking the audience on this journey.
I think Barbara's coming to join us.
Yeah, this happens a lot.
What?
It's just don't mind the shaking. It's okay. It just happens. She told me that if I just snapped, she'll come.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Really?
Yeah.
What the?
That's not how it's supposed to. No, that's not how this goes.
That's kind of cool, though. How'd you do that?
Let me try again.
It's weird over here.
Hang on. I'll try again.
I don't think that was supposed to happen.
Well, her phone's still here.
Oh, okay.
Should we call her? Maybe she.
I'll try the snap thing because maybe
This snap thing doesn't really seem to be working. Have you guys done this before?
No, we have not.
Oh, great!
I
I'm so
apologize.
glad I'm the first one. Thanks for that.
Yeah. All right.
Do you want me to try it?
Yes. Let's try that.
Well, so I just.
I think just snap.
Really?
Yeah. She didn't say anything, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's so weird out there.
Hey, that worked.
Yeah.
I know. Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. Sure.
we
Well,
need
that's what I do.
I know, an expert, right? Well, Barbara was a little busy, but she sent me the sidebar
Oh.
to play with Greg.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Oh,
Sure. Yeah.
So we're gonna play a game.
great.
So what has happened here is we have Barbara from the Beyond has
From beyond.
From Beyond.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Hey, she was in that movie.
See what I did there? So she has put together a bunch of the assortment of titles of films that you have worked on.
Oh.
And
wow.
and in them, she told me that we are each going to go around and randomly select a title.
Okay.
And then of those 3 titles, you are going to have to come up with a creature that could live in the hybrid sequel universe of all of those.
Wow.
films.
Ooh, okay.
All right. I'm working today. All
So
right.
some
hold on.
producer was like, "What if we made a crossover sequel with these 3
Yeah.
pictures?"
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
they pitched it to you, and you were like, "Okay, this is."
All right. This is what I would do. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
Okay, ready? You know what's a nightmare? Dehydration.
Yeah. You know what's an even worse nightmare? Plastic pollution.
That's why we love Liquid Death and their evil mission to murder your thirst and kill plastic pollution.
That's right. Their aluminum cans are as metal as they get. So pick some up today because we all need something refreshing to reach for when we wake up from a nightmare.
It's true. Cheers. Valentine's Day may only come once a year, but you want to make sure that you look and feel your best year-round. And Manscaped has everything you need in their Performance Package 5.0. It comes with a bunch of awesome products, and you're going to love them all. For starters, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is going to be your new best friend. This electric trimmer has skin-safe technology to help protect from nicks and cuts, and it comes with their brightest LED spotlight yet, so you can shave anywhere. Some days, just getting out of bed and pulling yourself together can feel like a nightmare, but Manscaped makes it easy. Their performance package also comes with the Weed Whacker 2.0, ear, nose, and hair trimmer, and all of Manscaped's liquid formulations to soothe, tone, and the refined cologne for a finishing touch. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SCREAMDREAMS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using code SCREAMDREAMS. Because your grooming upgrade awaits, ready to charm your Valentine's dates or just to feel good about yourself. Support the show and get 20% off plus free shipping at www.manscaped.com using the code SCREAMDREAMS.
This could be terrible.
Here, all right, you go first.
Okay. All right.
Oh, I see. She just got cold feet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to do the first one.
I'm surprised this isn't overflowing with options. I'm sure
We had to
it could
narrow
have
it.
been.
I think Barbara had to narrow it down.
Yeah. Should I wait until
I know,
we all
you
have?
can go
Okay.
for it, yeah.
The first one we have is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Easy.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay. Hybrid of chainsaw with Transformers.
Oh, okay.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
And-
It's just a car arm turned into a chainsaw.
And Kill Bill 1 or 2.
Oh.
Well, Kill Bill 1 has the House of Blue Leaves, so I would probably go with Kill Bill 1.
Okay. I
so-
always think of them as one movie.
Yeah.
Two separate-
Well, they were.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
just
yeah.
they just figured.
Okay, so it's Texas Chainsaw meets Transformers meets Kill Bill,
Okay.
possibly 1.
Okay. So what I would do is I would say that you would start with a group of ninjas that are using samurai swords and chainsaws to dismember people.
Oh, they're wielding both.
So they're wielding both. So you have some with chainsaws, some with samurai swords, and then they end up taking the skeletons and the entrails and they attach them to these Japanese robots. And then they start improvising weapons. So you have a chainsaw that actually has. I'd have to figure out how to get the swords in there, or maybe it's a sword that's got a chainsaw blade on it.
Ooh, like a moving chainsaw
Yeah.
blade.
So that ends up being you have these skinned human robotic creatures that were dissected with samurai swords and chainsaws, and then are resurrected and use those same weapons to make their army larger.
So the viscera is giving the robots life. It's not just like skins.
Well, it's the
slapped
first
on.
thing is you
Okay.
skin them.
Okay.
So
yeah.
so it's like think bloody Ray Harryhausen
Okay, sure.
with
Oh.
Ash with like a chainsaw arm and maybe samurai arm.
Okay.
Ah, I like this. Like both. It's very Rodriguez a la shot. What is it?
Yeah.
Rose McGowan.
Rose
Rose
McGowan.
McGowan.
Yeah.
Planet Terror.
Dream. I wish I could do that.
I love this, and I don't think Shia stands a chance.
I don't think he
No,
does.
I
Not,
don't either.
I think in this version, in the Texas Kill Bill Transformer. Kill Formations. Yeah, that's very good.
There you go. Texas Kill Formations.
Call
Texas,
Blumhouse.
there it is. Texas Kill Formations. Ryan Turek, Jason Blum.
Yeah.
Paul Ryan, yeah.
We've got a pitch for you guys. Well, I think he won. I think he won the game. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, wait, are you guys supposed to do it too?
Oh.
I think each of you, okay, so that was my version.
Oh.
This is
now
what we
it's
should do.
my
Now
pitch.
you should.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Or so
Okay.
we should pick 3 more.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
2, 3.
I think you guys should come up
That's
with some,
fun. Yeah.
too.
Okay.
Also, which
No
Texas
pressure.
Chainsaw?
Which I know. Right? Thank you, Jesus. Only in front of all the.
Which
little-
Texas Chainsaw did you work on? The third one?
We did part 3, the Jeff Burr one.
Yeah. Yeah. With
and
Ken
then
Foray?
Yep, with Ken Foray. And then we did the in the beginning, there was the 2 Platinum Dunes ones.
Yeah, the prequel to the remake.
We did those 2,
Oh, you
and
did
then
both,
we
okay.
did another. We did 4 of them.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah,
What was the fourth one? Was it
the 4th one was
Is that the Leatherface one
Yeah.
from 2017?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
I have a really funny story though.
Oh.
I have to tell.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
When we did the first Chainsaw movie that we did, which was part 3, there's a scene in the original script where Ken Foray gets decapitated, or like the chainsaw goes in his face.
Yeah.
So he came to the shop, we cast his head, and we made a gelatin head. So it was filled with plaster and blood, and we had to test it, but we didn't have a chainsaw. So I drove to a rental place in Chatsworth, an equipment rental place, and rented a chainsaw. And I left my ID there, went back to the shop, chainsawed the head in half with real blood. I have video of all this.
Oh my God.
And the blood got sucked into the motor of the chainsaw.
Uh-oh.
Blood everywhere. And then I got in the car, I drove back. The guy wasn't at the counter. I put the chainsaw and took my ID and left.
So he thought that there was like real like.
I don't know what he thought. I just left it on the counter.
I did a film once where it was low budget. I had to get home and I was covered in fake blood, and I needed to shower, and it was like on the bathrobe that I had and all of this stuff. And I was living in Brooklyn, and we had a shared washer dryer in the building, and someone would never take their clothes like out of the wash. You'd have to wait, and I took their clothes out and put them on top and put mine in and wrote just a note that said had to get the blood out and went to bed.
Perfect.
I mean, it was true.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lie. Anyway, okay, all right, we'll do a combined one.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
for
yeah,
time.
Yeah. Okay. What's this big
Unless-
meaty one? What's this guy? Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events.
You
Okay.
guys got it tough.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not even that familiar with that.
I got the Chronicles of Narnia, the
Oh.
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Jeez.
This is really hard.
I
we're going-
know.
we're going more
I
YA
have Wes
here.
Craven's New Nightmare.
Oh, there we go. That's one that I love. Okay.
well,
so,
this is up to you. This is you guys.
I
Yeah.
know, damn it. This is hard.
Well, the nightmare
That's
might
what's-
help your.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Well, what if there is a night like what if the I think they're called the Baudelaire children. I read the books.
Okay.
In a series of unfortunate events, have
A wardrobe.
have come across a wardrobe, and in one of the orphanages that they're now placed in, and when they open the magical wardrobe, thinking that they're going to go to this like magical place because, you know, finally things are going to work out for them. They open it, and inside is Freddy. But he also is part lion. because
Okay.
Like a centaur.
Yes, like a centaur Freddy.
Centaur Freddy.
And
That's pretty wild.
and he,
I'm the king of the jungle, bitch.
yes, and then he comes out, and he also has the claws for paws.
Yep, exactly.
You know, which
So
are
the claws for paws.
scratching
All right.
on the floor
Yeah.
of this, and the Baudelaires are very upset because
Clearly. I mean, I hope so.
because not only is it Lion Freddy, but also they don't want to wake up the mean orphanage runner woman
Sure.
who lives below. And now they have to figure out how to convince Freddy to go back in the wardrobe.
Oh, see,
he came out.
I
Oh,
thought
wow.
you were going to say that Freddy was going to kill the evil.
He was gonna do him a
orphanage
favor?
Like
person.
they go to, this is better. Yeah,
They
it's like-
lure Freddy. Freddy's trying to kill them.
yes.
Yeah.
And nobody believes them that Freddy Centaur is alive.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And you do have shots of like the claws on the ground.
furry claws.
Yeah.
And you're like, can't you hear him? And nobody helps him. And then the evil person comes out and says, you guys, I've had it with you, and we're sending you off to another orphan. And then, boom, and then the Freddy
Yeah.
gets her.
Okay.
Yeah, I like, and then they become like part of Freddy's world because they've just been screwed over so much that they're like, you know what, Freddy, Lion Freddy, we also are become proteges of Freddy.
Whoa.
And they like chop
It's like
their
that
hands
labyrinth
off.
zone that's
Wow,
in.
that got dark fast.
They chop
Oh,
their
they chop their hands off.
I don't know why.
What?
They
That
chop their
got
own hands
really,
off.
that got really
Orphans
dark.
cutting their own hands off to follow a demonic lion entity.
Why not?
Yeah, okay.
See, I thought you were going to say when they open the wardrobe, instead of them stepping into a fantasy, beautiful world, they actually unleash the dark horror world comes through and takes over the orphanage. So then they have to fight to save themselves from these creatures that have come out of the wardrobe.
Or you could take a turn and they have
And then
to
at the end,
help.
it turns out it's a nightmare.
They have to help all the horror characters get adopted from the orphanage, you know? Like parents
The
come
Lion
over.
Like,
Freddies?
The
Who
Lion
would adopt
Freddies and the
Pinhead?
Chuckies and we could have them all.
Oh,
So then
they're
you'd
all-
have
they're all-
so
now
then
we're
you'd have
just adding
Tim,
more movies.
you'd
to
have
this.
Tim Allen from Tool Time. He would adopt Pinhead.
Oh,
You'd have
okay.
to figure
Oh,
out
sure,
who
yeah,
would
like-
adopt who.
I was like, oh, need that. Thank you. Yeah.
I needed that.
Yeah, now he doesn't have to have them in his
Exactly.
mouth.
Santa
So
Claus,
Pinhead
thank
just stands.
you.
Pinhead stands there.
Yeah.
While he's built. And he takes a nail and he builds a house with Pinhead's head.
Yeah.
I like this game. Can we do one more?
If you want.
Well, I like that I morphed it into something different.
I
Yeah,
know.
well, that's-
I love this.
It's a
We
good
do-
You guys
writer's
were,
room.
by the way, the look of terror on your faces when I said you should do one, you both went.
Yeah.
We don't
No,
know.
no.
We're
That's how
pushing
the
it all on
game
you.
works.
That's not how. Well, it is how it works now. You guys did great.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, it is how it works now.
It is now.
I like how Catherine was the one like, let's just do a combined one. Now she's like, let's do another
Nah,
one.
I'm ready. Okay, I
Oh,
got.
you want to do another one?
Yeah.
She wants to, yeah.
I got Boogie Nights.
Oh,
Oh,
Boogie Nights.
all
Ooh,
right.
okay.
There's a giant anaconda in there somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, that anaconda. I got Suicide Squad.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I got Day of the Dead.
Oh.
Ooh, okay.
This is
So
full
I'm
circle.
thinking, it's
Zombie porn actor.
Ah, yes. Oh my God. I know an effects artist who has an AVN award for directing Doug Sackman, who also did that gag, the gag I talked about earlier that I
Yeah.
froze. And it's Return of the Evil Head. That's or Night of the Evil Head or something like that. That's like the name.
Oh,
And he has
interesting.
an AVN award for his horror porn.
I'm guessing that's
Anyway,
where Bub
sorry.
wound up.
Very well.
yeah.
Well, look, you figure you got if you have a horror porn actor, pieces will fall off them. So then you have to reattach them
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
for potentially between movies and takes. And
Well, I'm imagining the hybrid of these movies is we're late stage zombie apocalypse, as Day of the Dead is, and at this point, these porn actors, they're out of work. You thought video hit their industry hard, zombie apocalypse making it even worse for them. So these porn actors have to band together as a sort of suicide squad to try to rid the world of zombies so they can get back to fucking
work.
On camera.
It's important work. Someone has to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Actors.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And they could befriend Bub as the one of the good ones.
One of the good
One of the good zombie porn actors.
What about the anaconda?
That's right. That's their little mascot. It talks.
It talks.
Yeah.
So it's a little Frank Henenlotter action.
yeah, exactly. Any Frank Henenlotter that we can cram in there.
Just cram it in there.
Yeah.
I just I want them to be making a porn parody. They're making a zombie porno, and
somebody gets bit.
Yeah, someone's really a zombie. They don't know. They think it's just really great
good makeup.
effects.
They're like, we had K&B working on this. That's why it looks so good.
That I feel like that's been made already. That's such a good idea. You would just assume that if they're making the movie and they're like, the casting person, they cut the budget and they go out and they like, shit, they're doing set dressing in a morgue set and they're like, we don't have any money to make dummies, but we can get real corpses for like $150, which is true, by the way.
Yeah.
So they put real corpses in this morgue scene, and then one of the corpses reanimates and bites one of the actors.
Oh yeah. Wait. Rewind. You can buy real bodies.
When we were doing, there was a movie that we did called Gross Anatomy, a Disney movie back in the late 80s.
Disney bought dead bodies?
No. Hold on. I got to tell the story. It was like it was like our second job. And it was a movie with Matthew Modine in it, and they were medical school students. There's a whole bunch of sequences where they're in their gross anatomy lab dissecting bodies. Oh. And they were like, well, you can get real bodies for like $150 and put them on the set, but after 6 weeks, they would smell really bad and the lights and stuff, so we should just make some. But I don't think they were planning on it, but somebody had said, you could just get real ones.
For $150?
This was 1980.
Sure, but even after inflation, that's like $500 maybe for
after inflation.
And then we drove to Cal State Long Beach, and they pulled the cadaver out for research. And they're like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. And they unzip the bag.
Yeah. No, I've heard about this. Like when you donate your body to science, I just found this out. You don't know like what science it's going to.
Could be mad science.
Like there is a science wherein they just lay the bodies on the ground and watch them decompose.
Ah, sure.
That's a thing. So like you think you're like doing this like noble thing, and they're gonna like research your brain or something, and they're just leaving you on the ground to watch you decompose.
So that's the beginning of the movie. The beginning of the movie is somebody donates their body, someone leaves it, it decomposes, and then a film crew comes in to shoot a movie. And they film a death scene with fake blood right on that same location. But the actor playing the zombie gets a little rambunctious and bites too hard, and the actress screams, and real blood comes out and hits the dirt.
Ooh,
I'm
Hellraiser
going
style.
for a little Hellraiser.
Yeah.
And then you do the reverse, like,
But where's the Suicide Squad?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Isn't that enough?
You're like, now you have to pay me, okay?
No, that's you guys can fill in the blanks.
Sure.
All right, guys. Well, I think I got to get this back to Barbara in the Beyond.
Want me to snap you away?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
So, how long does it usually take for her to go do this?
I don't know, because if she's seeing Barbara, I want to give her a chance to chat. It's always fun too.
Oh, so. Where's Barbara? Like in Studio City or China? Like, does it take a long time to?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Okay,
yeah, I feel like that should be good. Okay.
Hey. Anyway, as you were saying.
Yes, I forgot it was 3 hours ago.
I've seen a video a lot, and I think they've done it a lot, where you have someone sitting at a table and you have a fake hand for them, and they know it's fake, and they're part of it, but then you take a hammer and you smash that fake hand, but
Right.
they react in pain.
They still react. Yeah.
Even though they're aware that that's not their real hand.
Yeah.
It's just because they're looking at it from a vantage point where it seems like it. They still have a almost physical reaction to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's magic.
It is. Speaking of magic, on this show, we always ask our guests what their nightlight is. And what we mean by that, what we mean by that is basically amidst all the terrible horrors of the world, all of the real life creatures, all of the things in our nightmares, what is the thing that keeps you going when you wake up, that is the light in the tunnel that lets you know everything's going to be okay?
Wow. I don't know. It's hard. I find myself a lot of times forcing myself awake. Like I know I'm dreaming, and I have to force myself out of a dream. But in terms of, I don't know. I don't know. You know, I have things that I watch before I go to sleep that kind of, you know, I sort of turn my brain off, but but like in terms of that kind of thing, you know, look, I've had some tremendously vivid murder dreams, really vivid, like
Where you're the victim or
no, where people that I love were the victims.
Oh, okay.
That were, and I, you know, again, my dreams are very often from like, you know, feeling separated from my family because I'm away filming and I'm not home, so I have the manifest in these horrible dreams. But my dreams are super outrageous. You know, I literally had a dream the other night that I was like, oh yeah, I was in this big shopping mall complex, and it was like a lot of stuff going on, and I had lapses in my memory, and I was arrested for murdering somebody. And then I remember just saying, well, I don't remember. I couldn't remember if I had done it or not done it. But I was like, I could have never. And then I'm in the courtroom, and there's the attorney, the prosecuting attorney. And he's like, I got 14 witnesses that saw him do it. And I went, maybe I did it. I don't remember. But then I went, oh, I'm going to jail for the rest of my life. This was like 4 nights ago.
Where do you think that fear comes from? Is it like a fear of not remembering something, not knowing who you are? That's kind of a zombie thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the idea of like we talked about this a couple times on the show, but like zombies are, you know, a metaphor for a lot of things, but it is kind of this idea of like losing yourself. Like
Right.
you look kind of like yourself still sometimes, depending on how far along they are in the process, you know. But like you're not yourself, and you don't have control of yourself, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, it's that one kind of threw me a little bit. But you know, I think my dreams manifest a lot in my surroundings, and like, you know, when I go to sleep, what I'm watching or thinking about. Like, I think there was a Dateline episode on that night, and my brain went, oh, really? Shoom, and just
But you think you could be the murderer,
I know.
not the victim, which is really interesting.
Well, I think because when you watch all of these shows and you see the murderer sitting in court pleading not guilty, and then you see the depths with which they perform these horrible things. For me, I have a really hard time imagining like that guy did that.
Yeah.
Like it's part of like sort of my weird, not fascination, because I'm not fascinated with it, but my just question about humanity, which is like how, you know, the cruelty that people, I don't understand it. So I think in that particular instance, I was sort of translating in my brain that even somebody like me who, you know, wouldn't be capable of it are being accused of it, and in some instances do it, or, you know, I don't know.
Do you
It
think
was very
that's
strange.
Do you think that's why you have always been attracted to monsters then?
You know, when I was young, I had nightmares all the time, to the point where I was afraid to go to sleep because my nightmares were so vivid. But there was also sort of a thrill and fascination behind it. Like even though I was afraid to have the nightmares, like there was some adrenaline element to it when I would wake up. And And they're like, okay, God, thank God it didn't really happen. I thought that really, I had Creature from the Black Lagoon dreams a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about that also on this show. Like that's what, this is very hippy dippy, but that's what Aristotle says in the Poetics is the whole purpose of storytelling, like i.e. filmmaking. It's the closest you can be to understanding and feeling something without actually suffering yourself. It's the closest we can get.
Well, that's what makes the horror genre so fascinating.
Yeah.
Because you witness the most horrific thing that you can, and then the lights come on and you can go home and walk out the door. And I know George Romero used to say that all the time. He's like, it's like the best thing about making movies like this, it's like being on a roller coaster.
Yep.
The adrenaline, the fear, but then you immediately counter that with laughter because your brain works that way.
Yeah, controlled fear, like safe fear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for taking us on this
Sure.
roller coaster. This has been such a treat. I could listen to your stories all day. I hope you'll come back for us at some point.
It's funny. Somebody said, "Oh, we should do this," and I'm like, "Well, I don't know what I'm going to talk about from day to day because whatever questions are asked reminds me of it. Oh yeah, I forgot about that."
Yeah.
My brain has a really good way of sort of opening the drawer and pulling a particular situation.
And those are the best kinds of conversations.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. What's next for you? What is it? Telling more of sharing more of your stories. Would you publish your journals for educational purposes? Do you have a project in the works that you're
not related to that? I mean, there's a lot of stuff. That we just wrapped off Daryl Dixon in France. We have the Rick and Michonne series coming out, I think February 25th, and it's exciting for me because now I'm at a point in my career where I get to collaborate with other filmmakers that I've admired, like Mike Flanagan, and Brian Fuller, and we're always sort of talking about what are we going to do together. I'm getting to that point in my career where I want to work with my friends and I want to have fun because it's hard to have fun, when the trials and tribulations, it's amazing that anything ever gets made because it's so difficult that every single thing that could go wrong usually does go wrong. But the advantage that people like me and people that have a lot of is you've been on 200, 400, 600 movie sets, so you go, you have to kind of think on your feet. So I have a book, a project based on a book called Swan Song that I'm really super excited about. We're doing a George Romero biopic about the making of Night of the Living Dead. Oh, great. Because I love the idea that these 10 people just went, hey, we should just put $600 each in and make a movie. And that's the movie they made.
Yeah.
John Carpenter and I are talking about remaking Prince of Darkness. Because I said it in an interview once. I went, I'd love to remake Prince of Darkness. And now here I am with the writer, developing it. And then I have a Dean Koontz book that I want to do. I'm working with Shane Black on there's just, there's a lot. Yeah. I'm shocked that I have the energy to do it, but I still have the passion. So thank God for that.
I'm happy you do. And, I working with your friends and having a good time, you deserve it. Absolutely. Yeah. After all the decades of hard work.
Maybe that's the nightlight. Maybe that's
that could be. It very well could be. So, well, thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time. Well, actually, if you liked, I'm so bad at this. I always have to remember. If you liked what you just heard, we release our episodes in two ways. We release the YouTube and audio version that you can listen to, but we also release extended cuts on our Patreon. Ooh. Everything is at Scream Dreams Pod. We have an early bird subscription rate. I'm not explaining this well, but I'm trying my best.
I got it.
You got it. So if you like it, please like us, subscribe, share with your friends. Tell us what you found insightful. Tell us about your nightmares.
Tweet at us, ring the bell, do it all.
Do it all. We're here for it. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, I'm Catherine Corcoran.
And I'm James A. Janice. Be sure to leave the nightlight on.